Okay, so our next lesson that we're going to do is going to deal with solving equations that look like this. 0 equals x squared plus 11x plus 17. But Mr. Schieber, we already did these. If you have an x squared and an x, that means that you have to factor. So we're going to take 1 times 17, factors of 17 that add to give me 11. There are no factors of 17 that add to give you 11. So, if there are not any factors that add to give me 11, we've always said that that's unfactorable. But we still need to be able to solve this to figure out what our answer should be. So, Caden Brown's over here freaking out because he can't factor, so how's he going to solve for x? Well, we are going to need to use our quadratic formula, which luckily you guys have a really kind math teacher that has already showed you guys how to solve these. So we're going to listen to a little tune real quick. Alright, so I think that was good enough to jog your guys' memory. So we're going to use our quadratic formula, which is x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. Okay, one thing Dr. Delaware did want to pop in and send you guys a reminder here real quick that when you get imaginary solutions, make sure that your answers are in a plus bi form. Okay, so you're not going to be able to leave it over a number. You're going to have to split up that fraction. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, if you guys want to flip this over to the back, we'll do an example real quick. And we're actually going to do an example where we have our imaginary numbers, just so that you guys can jog your memory on that. So starting out, the one that I'm going to solve is going to be x squared plus 10 equals 6x. Sorry, don't need a negative there. Equals 6x. Okay, starting out with, we don't necessarily know we need to use our quadratic formula yet, but I've got an x squared and I've got an x. So if you see an x squared and an x, we know that we're going to have to factor. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've got to get it set equal to 0. And that's not the right pin. I've got to get it set equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 6x over. Okay, when I do that, I get x squared minus 6x plus 10 equals 0. Okay, so now it equals 0. Now I'm ready to factor. 1 times 10, factors of 10 that add to give me 6. So factors of 10 will be 1 and 10, that adds to give me 11. 2 and 5, that adds to give me 7. Well, shoot, we can't factor this problem. Okay, so if I can't factor this problem, then I have to use my quadratic formula. So the first thing, you guys want to sing your song to make sure that you remember, so I'll let you guys sing along. I'll write as you go. And a 1, and a 2, and a 3. I hope you guys were singing, because otherwise that would just be awkward. It's just me here sitting in a room silently while Kevin Williams is working on a homework problem. So let's hope that you guys sang along. That would be much appreciated. All right. Now, when I do this, I need to identify what A, what B, and what C is. So my A value for this is going to be the number in front of your x squared. So your A value would be 1. Your B value is the number in front of the x. So your B value would be a negative 6. And your C value is the last number, so your C value would be a 10. So we're going to go ahead and plug in. I've got x equals negative b, so that's going to be a negative 6, plus or minus square root of b squared, so that's going to be a negative 6 squared, minus 4 times my a value, which our a value is 1, times my c value. My c value is 10. That's all under that square root. All divided by 2 times my a value, which was 1. Okay, there's 3 areas that we need to simplify. One of them is right out here, and the only simplification you're ever going to do out here is if there's 2 negatives, make it a positive. Okay, you also need to simplify down here. This one's also easy. It's just going to be a number times a number. The part that's a little tricky can be on the inside of the square root there. Okay, So we'll go ahead and start simplifying. The two negatives we said made that a positive, so that's a positive 6 over 2 times 1 is 2. Then on the inside, I've got a negative 6 squared. So negative 6 times negative 6 gives me positive 36. And then I've got a negative 4 times 1 times 10, so that's going to give me a negative 40. I'm going to simplify that again. That's going to give me a 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 4 over 2. Now remember, if I have a negative underneath the square root, that's going to give me an imaginary number. Okay, so the square root of negative 4, well, the square root of 4 is 2, so it's going to be a 2. And then the negative underneath means that I need to put an I on the back side of that. Okay, so this will simplify down to 6 plus or minus 2I. And that's over 2. Okay, now if we remember when Dr. Delaware popped in, he said all answers have to be in A plus BI form. Okay, this right here is not in A plus BI form. So I need to split up this fraction. So when I split up this fraction, I'm going to have a 6. I'm going to have my plus or minus, I'm going to have my 2I. When I split this fraction, this 2 is going to go to both of them. Okay? So when this ends up reducing to a, whoops, not a 6. This ends up reducing to a 3, still on the eraser. A 3 plus or minus 2 over 2 would just be 1, so we're just going to have 1I. And that's what our final answer is. Okay? Quadratic formula, guys, sometimes will work out. You're going to have nice, easy numbers. Sometimes it doesn't. If we have i's, we have to simplify it into two separate terms. If this isn't an I underneath, sometimes it'll work out and give you two nice answers. If you guys aren't great at factoring, the quadratic formula might be something you want to look into doing. But your test is going to require that you guys have to do both of them. Okay?